Good evening. You're watching the News at 6 with me, Ishan Russell. The News at 6 is all about the day's biggest developing stories, and we'll be filling in on them over the next half hour. But first, the headlines that we're tracking right now. Prime Minister Narendra Modi addresses centenary celebration of the Patna High Court, suggests use of technology to improve quality of judgments. At the Advancing Asia Conference, IMF Chief Christine Lagarde appreciates reforms initiated by the Modi government. Prime Minister Modi calls IMF quotas to better reflect share of emerging economies. Reserve Bank Governor Raghuram Rajan finds IIP numbers disappointing, says markets and central bank comforted by fiscal consolidation efforts of government. SEBI cracks whip on Willful loan defaulter, says they will no longer be able to raise public funds through stocks and bonds. China's central bank did not resort to excessive stimulus to improve growth. And China's central bank not to resort to excessive stimulus to improve growth, but to keep a flexible stance in the event of an economic shock. Our top story this evening, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today unveiled a new railway project in Hajipur district of Bihar. Calling Bihar a priority for the government, he said the state's progress was key to India's progress. Earlier, Modi also attended the concluding function of the centenary celebrations of the Patna High Court.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi is making a case for the judiciary to increasingly use technology. Addressing the closing ceremony of the Patna High Court centenary celebration, he said that the quality of argument and judgment will improve with the use of technology.
हमारा बार, हमारी बेंच, हमारी कोर्ट, इसको हम कितने ज्यादा टेक्नो से भी बना सकते हैं, कितनी तेजी से हम डिजिटल सिस्टम को हमारी व्यवस्था में इंजेक्ट कर सकते हैं, और उसके कारण क्वालिटी ऑफ आर्गुमेंट, क्वालिटी ऑफ जजमेंट, स्पेस ऑफ द जजमेंट, इन सब में एक बहुत बड़ा आमूलचूल परिवर्तन आ सकता है.
Modi said the law not only had an important role in shaping the country's democracy, but it was the binding force that kept the country's diversity intact.
और इस प्रकार से इस पेशे से जुड़े हुए लोगों का एक बहुत बड़ा योगदान भारत के आजादी के आंदोलन से जुड़ा हुआ है, और उसके बाद भी जब जब भारत में संकट आया, मूलभूत बातों पर संकट आया, ज्यादातर बार ने आवाज उठाई है, ज्यादातर न्यायालयों ने उसको एक नई ताकत देने का प्रयास है.
During the day-long visit to Bihar, the Prime Minister also visited Hajipur, where he inaugurated 2 rail-cum-road bridges in Patna and Munger. It was also Modi's first visit to the state after the assembly elections last year. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Now, Prime Minister Narendra Modi today pitched for quota reforms at the IMF that reflect global economic realities. Addressing a conference on advancing Asia that was co-hosted by India and the International Monetary Fund, Modi announced a new centre for capacity building on fiscal and monetary policy space for 6 countries in the region.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi on Saturday said world bodies like IMF needs to reflect changes in the global economy and the rising share of emerging economies. Speaking at the India IMF conference Advancing Asia, Investing for the Future in New Delhi, Modi said India will continue to pursue its reform to transform agenda.
Even now, IMF quotas do not reflect the global economic realities. Change in quotas is not an issue of increasing the power of certain countries. It is an issue of fairness and legitimacy.
Appreciating India's position in the global economy, IMF Managing Director Christine Lagarde called it the fastest growing economy whose star is shining bright in a volatile global scenario.
India faces an unprecedented opportunity for transformation, and as we all know, very important reforms have been undertaken under the leadership of Prime Minister Modi. Think, for example, of Make in India, Digital India, and more even promising reforms yet to come. With that, India's star shines bright.
Lagarde also praised Prime Minister Modi for his various reform measures.
Asia has a lot to be proud of. It is the world's most dynamic region. Today accounts for 40% of the global economy, and over the next 4 years, even with slightly declining momentum, it stands to deliver nearly 2/3 of global growth.
Lagarde noted that the region's economy, notwithstanding the Asian crisis, had grown at an average of about 6% in the past 25 years. She urged Asian nations to employ growth-friendly monetary and fiscal policies to counter challenges posed by a fragile global economy. Bureau Report, Rajya TV.
Now, calling the index of industrial production data disappointing, Reserve Bank Governor Rajan today said the economy is improving, but the process of recovery is volatile. Rajan, who attended the RBI board meet with Finance Minister Arun Jaitley, said the markets and the central banks were both comforted by the 3.5% GDP fiscal deficit target announced in the budget. The declining industrial output has promoted the industry to seek a rate cut by the RBI as its monetary policy review in April. On whether the RBI would ease the monetary policy to boost growth, Rajan refused to reply, while stating that the headline number of 3.5% fiscal deficit target is a firm indication of the government's intent for fiscal consolidation.
Environment and hope created by both the initiatives taken in the budget as also the decision to stick to a certain level of fiscal discipline have both received a very positive nod.
I think the headline number which we have looked at and which I think is a firm indication of government intent on fiscal consolidation was the 3.5% number going forward. And I think both the markets, the board, as well as the RBI have been comforted by that.
Now, cracking the whip on willful loan defaulters, market regulator SEBI said they will no longer be able to raise public funds through stocks and bonds. Defaulters will also be barred from taking up plum posts at listed companies. SEBI's restrictions are part of efforts to tackle bad loans hampering state-run banks. Under the law, willful defaulters are classified as firms or individuals who deliberately thwart repayments of dues to lenders. The move is expected to have a direct impact on beleaguered UB Group chairman Vijay Mallya, as it disqualifies him from the various posts he holds. According to the new rules, any company, its directors or promoters who've been declared as willful defaulters will be barred from taking control of another listed companies. These restrictions will apply to every individual and company declared as a willful defaulter as per the Reserve Bank norms.
कोई भी व्यक्ति या संस्था विलफुल डिफॉल्टर डिक्लेयर हुई है रिजर्व बैंक के सिस्टम से, तब उस व्यक्ति को सिक्योरिटीज मार्केट में रिटेल से पैसा उठाने का हक नहीं होना चाहिए। तो हम उनको बार कर रहे हैं। आज ये निर्णय हुआ है कि वो मार्केट से पैसा, सिक्योरिटीज मार्केट से पैसा नहीं उठा सकते हैं। पहली बात। दूसरी बात ये कि वो किसी भी लिस्टेड कंपनी के बोर्ड में नहीं आ सकते हैं, कि वो कोई कंपनी नहीं प्रमोट कर सकते हैं, वहाँ उससे भी डिबार कर रहे हैं। तीसरी बात कि कोई भी जो हमारे इंटरमीडियरी हैं, जैसे ब्रोकर हैं, म्यूचुअल फंड है, और जो इंटरमीडियरीज को हम जिनको लाइसेंस देते हैं, उसके लिए भी उनको फिट एंड प्रॉपर नहीं समझा जाएगा। इस 3 प्रकार के बंधन उन पर रखे गए।
Now, the Enforcement Directorate today questioned key aides of business tycoon Vijay Mallya over the 9,000 crore rupee loan default by his long-grounded carrier Kingfisher Airlines. Media reports said that former Chief Financial Officer A. Raghunathan was questioned by Enforcement Directorate officials. The ED had yesterday issued summons for appearance to Vijay Mallya, asking to appear before the 18th of March. The liquor baron, who is out of the country, meanwhile today found some support from political parties.
Former Prime Minister H.D. Deve Gowda on Saturday defended Vijay Mallya, whose group is charged with the loan defaults to the tune of over 9,000 crore rupees. Gowda said Every airline is facing losses these days, and there was no reason to target a businessman like Mallya.
Vijay Mallya was a person born in Karnataka, a reputed family. Yes, subsequently in business, there may be some area of mistakes. So the matter has been sufficiently discussed both on the Rajya Sabha and Lok Sabha, on the floor of the House. So then where is the need further to go on, see, is a pin down on this issue?
Mallya is currently believed to be in London, and the government is facing questions as to how he was allowed to leave the country despite a lookout notice by the CBI.
I think it would be comic, were it not tragic, that such mysterious, strange explanations are being trotted out. The ultimate bottom line is that under the cynosure of the press, under court proceedings, under notices, under orders, a person is allowed to depart. And a very, very odd, lame, and we believe a cover-up excuse is trotted out that there was a defective lookout notice.
The ruling BJP at the centre has alleged that banks were pushed into giving 3,100 crore rupees loan to him and unfreezing his bank accounts in 2012.
देखिए बिल्कुल बेसलेस एलिगेशंस हैं, इनको हम पूरी तरह से खारिज करते हैं। विजय माल्या के बारे में हम ये पूछना चाहते हैं कि आपने 2012 में जब पूरी तरह से उनके जो अकाउंट्स थे उनको बैंकों ने फ्रीज कर दिया था, तो फिर आप यूपीए सरकार ने, मनमोहन सिंह जी ने और सोनिया और राहुल गांधी के इशारे पर क्यों आपने उनको बेल आउट पैकेज दिया?
On Wednesday, the government told the Supreme Court that Mallya left India on March 2nd, following which the bench issued notice to him. In a series of tweets, Mallya has claimed that he was not an absconder and was not fleeing from India. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha Television.
Time for us to take a short break. That's lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned.
Hello and welcome. I'm Amritanshu Rai. You're watching Constitutionally Yours.
इस तरह का वातावरण बनाना पड़ेगा कि महिलाएं भी स्वयं आगे आए।
एमपी एमएलएस की चिंता है कि शिक्षा डेमोक्रेसी में धीरे धीरे आए या तेजी से आए।
क्यों नहीं हिंदुस्तान में कॉमन सिविल कोड लागू की जाए?
ये नहीं हो सकता कि सारी के सारी पॉपुलेशन एक सरीकी एक कल्चर में ढल जाए।
Join us as we try to understand contemporary issues related to the Constitution. Watch Constitutionally Yours on Rajya Sabha Television.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. And now Mexican Foreign Minister Claudia Ruiz Massieu today met her counterpart Sushma Swaraj in Delhi. Both leaders did a comprehensive review of bilateral ties between the two countries and explored the possibility of elevating the relationship to a new level. The two ministers took up areas of mutual interest, including Indo-Mexican relations in politics, trade and finance. The agenda included talks on strengthening and widening the scope of bilateral ties and agreements in future visits. The Mexican Foreign Minister also renewed the invitation extended to her country's president to Prime Minister Narendra Modi to visit Mexico in the near future. Monsieur's next two-day trip in India ends on Sunday. The two BSF jawans were killed and 4 others were injured in a Naxalite encounter in Chhattisgarh's Kanker district today. The BSF was on a special operation in the interior forests of Kanker district when a fierce gun battle broke out between the soldiers and the Naxals late on Friday night. 2 injured jawans, Vijay Kumar and Rakesh Nehra, died while being airlifted to Raipur. 2 of the 4 soldiers are injured critically. Time now to take a look at what else has been making news around the country and nationwide. A speeding truck killed members of a marriage party in Firozabad late on Friday. The accident took place when the driver lost control and ran over 8 people and wounding at least 10 others. Chief of the Army's Northern Command, Lieutenant General NPS Hira, was appointed Deputy Chief of Army Staff. He'll assume office on the 14th of March. General Hira has a rich experience of counterinsurgency operations in Jammu and Kashmir and the northeastern region. Former employees of Kingfisher Airlines continue to protest outside the Kingfisher House. They said they will approach the Supreme Court next week under their right to livelihood. The employees say they have written to the Prime Minister seeking his intervention in the matter. Now, the Trinamool Congress has released its election manifesto for the upcoming polls in West Bengal. Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee has said that while the party is delivered in the promises it made in 2011, it will push reforms further in the coming years. She also claimed that the people will see through the Left Congress alliance that is only an alliance of opportunism.
The Trinamool Congress released its manifesto for the upcoming assembly elections in Bengal. Party chief and West Bengal Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee said her government has fulfilled all promises made to the people in 2011.
There are so many schemes যেটা আমরা কাজ করতে করতে পথ চলতে শিখেছি এবং মানুষের জন্য যেটা প্রয়োজনে সেই কাজটা আমরা করেছি সেরকম অনেক কাজ অনেক নতুন কাজ তৈরি হয়েছে বাংলার বুকে আমি এই ম্যানিফেস্টোটা বাংলার জনগণের জন্য বাংলার মামাটি মানুষের জন্য এই ম্যানিফেস্টোটা আমি উৎসর্গ করছি বাংলার মামাটি মানুষের জন্য
Mamata also assured that the process of development will gain speed in the coming years. The 142-page manifesto contains chapters on industry, health education, minority development, along with sections focusing on regions like Jungle Mahal and the hills. Mamata also said that she will expose the unholy alliance of the Congress and the CPIM during her visit to Kerala. She charged the Congress with having sold their flag and themselves to the CPIM.
নির্বাচনের আগে তৃণমূল দলের এই ভাঙন আরো তীব্র থেকে তীব্রতর হবে এবং এর মধ্যেই আমরা লক্ষ্য করলাম যে মুখ্যমন্ত্রী মমতা ব্যানার্জি যেখানে যেখানে সভা করতে গেলেন উত্তরবঙ্গে অবাক হলাম যে যেখানে মমতা ব্যানার্জি আগে গেলে হাজার হাজার মানুষের স্বতঃস্ফূর্ত ঢল নামতো আজ সেখানে মমতা ব্যানার্জিকে মঞ্চের বাইরে বসে থাকতে হয় কখন লোক আসবে মানানসই লোক এলো কিনা তারপরে আমি স্টেজে উঠব মমতা ব্যানার্জির এই দুর্দশা বাংলার মানুষ নিশ্চয় আগে দেখেননি যেটা বর্তমানে প্রত্যক্ষ করছেন
On the other hand, the Congress and the CPIM walked an extra mile to break the impasse over seat adjustments in the state after its leadership held a meeting last night. Congress State President Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary said his party was sincere about a tie-up with the left but is ready for a three-cornered contest if such situation arise. The Congress says it is confident that the people of Bengal will give their mandate on what it calls is Mamata's misrule. Six-phase polling for the 294-seat assembly in Bengal will begin on 4th of April and last till May 5. Counting will take place on 19th of May. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Time for us to take a short break. Lots more on the other side. Do stay tuned. Hello, I am Ishan Russell.
I'm Tracy Shilchi and you're watching News Tonight.
Together with the team of our
dedicated professionals from across various fields.
This is Shyam Sundar,
Vishal Dahiya,
Akhilesh Suman,
Frank Pereira from Beijing, China.
Kriti Mishra for Rajya Sabha Television. We bring to you
the news that matters here on Rajya Sabha TV.
Gyan Chopper is the ancient version of Indian snakes and ladders. This intriguing game was popular among the old, the young, and the rulers as well. The chopper has its origin in the Jain philosophy. It tells the story of virtue. Each square, in turn, also narrates some message of wisdom.
Welcome back. You're watching the news at 6. Now, China's central bank won't resort to excessive stimulus to bolster growth, but will keep a flexible stance in the event of an economic shock, domestic or global. The central bank also said that it is trying to keep a liquidity flush to support an economy undergoing its most significant structural reforms in 2 decades.
China's central bank says it will not resort to excessive stimulus to step up growth, but will keep monetary policy flexible to counter possible economic shocks. The bank claimed it was trying to keep liquidity flush to support economy, but officials cautioned against excessive loosening that could increase downward pressure on the currency.
这是针对当前的这个表述，也是符合呢。大概从2015年后半年呢到现在的这个实际的这样的一个状况，但是同时呢，我们也强调呢，这个货币政策呢历来是需要动态调整的。
China Banking Regulatory Commission has promised to promote the bank industry reforms while keeping risk under acceptable levels to support the real economy.
一是要促进银行业进一步提高服务实体经济的质量和效率，这是在政府工作报告当中明确提出的要求。比如，不断推进解决小微企业融资难、融资贵的问题。
The country's state-owned enterprises have also braced themselves for reforms focused on diversity of equities.
同时呢，在这种情况下呢，我们要加大股权多元化呀，包括积极推进发展混合所有制经济。
The government has set up a growth target of 6.5 to 7% in 2016, with a spate of soft data pointing to further weakness at the start of the year. The world's second largest economy expanded an annual 6.9% in 2015, its slowest rate in last 25 years. Bureau Report, Rajya Sabha TV.
Now, North Korea's military on Saturday threatened the United States and South Korea as their joint military drills continued in South Korea. The Navy and Marine Corps of South Korean and US conducted a large-scale amphibious landing drill on Saturday amid heightened tensions. The troops of the two countries had started large-scale military exercises called nuclear war moves last week in an annual test of their defenses against North Korea. The North's military issued a blistering note and said it was prepared to counter the US and South Korean forces.
우리 군대는 적들의 평양 진격을 노린 반공화국 상륙 훈련에는 서울을 비롯한 남조선 전 지역 해방 작전으로 족집게식 타격 전술에는 우리 측의 전격적인
We believe that by training together we grow stronger. And we believe that with strong alliances and partnerships in our area of responsibility, we bring peace and stability to this region.
Some more international news now on Global Buzz. Fragments from a missile fired by an Israeli aircraft killed a 10-year-old Palestinian boy in Gaza today. A statement issued by the Israeli military said that the aircraft had targeted 4 militant training centers belonging to Hamas and no casualties were reported. The Arab League labelled Shiite Hezbollah as a terrorist organization at the meeting on Friday. Tensions between the Sunni and Shiite Muslim powers have been on the rise as sectarian wars rage in Syria, Yemen and Iraq. The Arab League has become a forum for predominantly Sunni countries led by Saudi Arabia to air grievances with the regional Shiite power Iran. Progressive rock legend Keith Emerson died on Friday at the age of 71. Police officials confirmed that he died of a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. His death is being investigated as a suicide case. Emerson was considered one of the top keyboard players of the progressive rock era. All the sports action now on Sports Beat. India's campaign at the All England Badminton Championships came to a disappointing end with Saina Nehwal losing her quarter-final match. The world number 2 was stunned by Tai Tzu Ying of Chinese Taipei, 15-21, 16-21 in the quarter-finals. Earlier, Sai Praneeth, Kidambi Srikanth and Samir Verma all bowed out of the tournament after losing their respective second-round matches. Vishwanathan Anand pulled off a stunning win over Vasilin Topalov in the first round of the candidates tournament. The 5-time world champion won a nerve-wracking contest against Topalov of Bulgaria to go into an early lead in the tournament. Indian boxing and former Olympic and World Championship bronze medalist Vijay Singh would look to continue his winning streak as he takes on Hungarian Alexander Hovrath in the 4th professional bout in Liverpool. This would be Vijender's first fight of the year after winning 3 knockout wins last year. Crystal Palace reached their first FA Cup semi-final in 21 years by beating reigning championship side Reading 2-0. Palace, who are without a league win in 2016, scored 2 late goals through Johan Cabaye, that through a penalty, and Fraser Campbell's stoppage time strike. Well, that's it from us. Goodbye.